talk to these relatives and like, I really mean it. Like, get them out of it.
So what you need to do, by the way, when you do that, look up pacing and leading. You pace them, agree with them. Oh, it's definitely stolen. Blah blah blah. You have to get on their side. And then you have to slowly lead them out.
Convince them that they didn't cheat. I mean, the Democrats cheated. That's obviously
true. What I mean is, don't come at them. You're crazy. This is crazy stuff. You have to agree with them. Find areas of agreement. Get on their side so they know you are on their team. And then you have to slowly, over the course of months, lead them out of this. Well,
Trump. There is no secret plan.
Too, right? So the Republicans are corrupt too, so they wouldn't help Trump. And then you phase out of it until you get to the point where they realize there was no plan.
Whatever you got to do. Okay, now we can move on to. So the most recent controversy these days, at least since the last time I looked at is the COVID stimulus bill. So a lot of people are now. It's not just a COVID stimulus bill. I think people are kind of forgetting this, and Facebook has fact checked it, so I know this is correct. But like, it isn't just a stimulus bill. It is the budget. Right, it's the budget. It's a budget omnibus bill plus COVID stimulus, and I don't know how much money the whole thing costs. Here's the real operative thing: they're offering Americans
money. We got money. Money we got. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, they're offering to give Americans each $600. People are upset because they want to get $1,200, and a lot of very cowardly. And I really mean this. This is a litmus test to see if you are like. Okay, you know everything I said about how your conservative relatives are important and you should care about them and you got to talk to them and save them? Okay, now, all that in mind, here's the test to see if anybody's like a person worthy to exist. If you see somebody complaining about this COVID stimulus and they bring up $700 billion to Sudan and $15 million to Pakistan, but they don't bring up $500 million to Israel, these people are fucking cowards. It's the test to see, are these people worthy to talk about politics? I have seen people seemingly bending over backwards not to talk about the fact that Israel's getting all this money, right? They're just like, oh, we're handing out all this money to foreign countries. Which ones? Sudan. Who else? Pakistan. Anyone in between? No. Second off, we should always know that the money going to Sudan is money to Israel. The reason, some of you may remember a few episodes ago, so 2 years ago, I talked about how, right? If you may remember, I talked about how Sudan had launched a fake coup. Do you remember that, Dan?
Of course I do. I listened to all your rants intently.
I had talked about how Sudan had this dictator, Omar Bashir, for like 30 years, and then he was deposed by the military. And the military said, all right, he's under arrest, and then we're going to be a junta while we, tear apart Omar Bashir's network of corruption, and that's going to be like a year-long thing. And then after 3 months, they said, actually, never mind, we're holding elections again. Also, Omar Bashir, as far as I can tell, is still alive. I'm pretty sure he's in Saudi Arabia right now. Saudi Arabia. And the reason Sudan did this, the reason the military did this, is because Sudan was on the state sponsor of terror list. And so Sudan, as a condition for this, they removed their troublemaking dictator, but they kept all of his cronies in power, and they recently recognized Israel. We all remember this. The $700 million that Sudan is getting, or $700 billion, whatever, the money Sudan is getting is their cash reward for normalizing relations with Israel. So we have money we give to Israel directly, and money we give to countries so that they will be nice to Israel. And it's actually more, because we give $3 billion a year in aid to Israel, but we give another $8 billion a year in loans. And Dan, you're going to love this. Loans that are automatically, as a matter of black letter law, forgiven. Imagine if every year I gave you $300 and then I lent you another $800. Say, here's $800 I'm lending you. You don't have to pay me back. The very second it enters your hand, I'm like, you don't need to, I forgive that loan. That is a matter of black letter law. That is actually how it's structured. And we don't call it aid because we don't want to say that Israel's the number one recipient. Instead, we say it's Egypt. But the money that Egypt gets is also their cash bonus for being friendly with Israel. Do you see how insane it is for conservatives who complain about this, how wasteful the stimulus bill is? It's like they're giving money to all these countries, but they won't talk about the fact that all of this money is for Israel. It is for Israel to have, or it's to give people so they'll be nice to Israel. But that's not all I have to say about that. But before I say the rest, Dan, do you have anything to say about that?
About that specifically, or just more general?
Whatever. It's it's your show.
Well, no, I just have you got cranky because you haven't gotten your $600. I don't know, what the fuck are we doing? I feel like, why do we have a stimulus bill? Who is this money for? So this is the part I don't get, right? If you're on unemployment, you're getting unemployment, and if you're working, then you're working. I got money. I'm working more hours now than I fucking have in a long time.
Well, no, unemployment, federal unemployment, that lapsed like 6 months ago. Those checks have. If you are getting unemployment checks from the federal government, you haven't been for the past like half a year.
No, but not the bonuses. I'm talking about just normal unemployment.
Oh, well, yeah, but
if you don't have a job, if you're out of work because of COVID, you get unemployment.
No, you don't.
Why not?
Congress let that lapse for the past 6 months.
I'm not talking about federal unemployment.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yes, keep going then.
Every state has their own unemployment.
Yep.
If you don't have a job, you're on unemployment. The federal thing was an extra bonus so that people were making more money job. So this is the thing I don't understand. I got a check. I got a deposit for $600. Why? I'm sure. I'm not gonna. Am I gonna hand it back? No. But why the fuck? What are we doing? What the fuck is going on? Everyone's got their question mark jackets back out of the closet, and they're just fucking clamoring for fucking scraps of this fucking giant pile of cash. Something like 90% of all the money ever made in the world in 3 weeks. What's going on? What is the plan? We have no exit strategy. And what's happening? Have you ever seen Goodfellas?
Nope.
There's a scene in Goodfellas where the mobsters get involved with this guy who owns a lounge, right? And the scam is they make him sign some papers. Now they are business partners with them. And what do? They run up the tabs. They run up all his debt. They buy all of his stuff from his vendors, and they sell it out the back door at half the price they just paid, right? Because they're not going to pay for the stuff they just bought, right? They're squeezing every dime they can, and then when there was no more money left, they burned it down for the insurance money. And it feels like that's where the country is at. Our leaders are doing this. They're just fucking grabbing whatever they can, and I really think they're prepping to go off work because it seems like they're very close to burning us down for the insurance money. And then when the Chinese come in and take over this country, the Bidens and all those people, they're going to be on a beach somewhere sipping margaritas, just laughing their asses off. And this $600, obviously it's not stimulus because under our bubble system, where you don't actually need customers or employees, but you can make more money than ever, our stock market's doing great. I hear about it all the time. It's record, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not unemployment relief because people have that already, and also if it was unemployment relief, $600 for 6 months is nothing. You'd already be dead by the time you got it if you're living that hand to mouth. It's not for rent. It's not enough to do anything. It's not enough to save people. It seems like it's literally just something they're throwing at us because they know everyone's got lockdown fatigue, and they go, hey, throw them $600. And also, let's get them talking about that, not the bill that we're passing. It feels like it's a bribe. And last time the bribe was $1,200. And they went, well, why would we give them $1,200? We could just give them $600. The next stimulus package, the next bill, whatever it is they pass, they're going to give us $300. Pretty soon, it's just going to be, we sent $900 trillion to Israel, and everyone's getting 2-for-1 Chick-fil-A coupons. What's going on? What's the end game of this?
Yeah.
It feels like they go, hey, here's $600. Please don't execute your governors in the street.
Another thing about this foreign aid money that I think a lot of Americans don't realize, I think a lot of Americans seem to think that in this country, they misunderstand who's asking for what when this shit happens. So I was going to go down to the next one. So $15 million was given to Pakistan, of which 10 had to go towards gender studies programs. And I've seen a lot of conservatives talking about this, like this is some kind of weird woke, AOC squad thing. No. Okay. This money has like two purposes. One, this is like laundered money, right? Two, it is a subsidy to Malala Yousafzai's father's, children's education organization, right? Three, this is regime change money. The purpose of sending $15 million to Pakistan, if that money is actually spent on gender studies programs, here's what it is for. The average sociology professor in the United States makes $80,000 a year, right? If you paid them 5 times that, so $400,000 a year, you could hire, I think, about 30 full-time professors of sociology. So about 150 instead of 80,000, and then even more than that for a year if you pay them a quarter of that. So it would be so you could hire about 600 sociology professors full-time in Pakistan for a year if you pay them each $20K. What that money is for, if you spend it like that, you give that for scholarships for grad students to study gender studies at Pakistan's universities, grants and things like that. You host conferences for people in Pakistan. And the reason that the United States goes to right-wing countries and pays left-wing academics and students to study these things is to coordinate them for regime change. That is to fund Pakistani Antifa. The reason that money is there to give all these people the ability to study gender studies, they wouldn't go to college otherwise, but thanks to the American money, they will go to college, is so that if it happens that Pakistan moves too close into China's orbit, Pakistan can get a whole bunch of mostly peaceful student protesters. That's what that money is for. Do you see that, Dan? Do you see why it's important to pay these people who are marginalized by the Pakistani system and have them go to school and have them write all this liberal Antifa? Like, it's Pakistani Antifa. That's what America is sponsoring there. Do you have any thoughts on that one before I continue? Like, do you want to push back on that at all?
I wish that they were sponsoring the Pakistani Proud Boys.
Right, yeah. It's right. The Pakistani Proud. Oh my god. That's probably going to be our show title. And finally, the other purpose is those, like, if you're an American and you want, like, to make American goods more competitive on the global market, if you are like a protectionist, foreign aid is protectionism. I have an if you're listening to this podcast, I have an article on Mises.org, right? I'm going to shill my article on Mises.org right now, and it's literally called Foreign Aid is Protectionism.
I wish I had an article on Mises.org.
Right.
Who do you have to blow to get an article on Mises?
Yeah, when the federal government, when money printer goes burr and you hand out money to people in other countries, this has the same effect on American living standards as if you erected a tariff wall, or if you subsidized our exports, or if you levied a fine on people who outsourced. Because foreigners hold those dollars, it bids up the price of goods that Americans would buy. So if I give a bunch of Indonesians US dollars, then they use it to buy sneakers that would have normally gone to the United States. That makes the sneakers more expensive. That's also what a tariff does. Do you see? And when that money, and if you spend those dollars on American companies,
he has to hold my hand through free trade.
This is not just for you. This is for the audience. This is for the audience.
Okay.
All right. So when the foreigners spend that money on stuff at home, that's a tariff on any of those goods that would go to the United States. If they spend that money on goods made in America, that's a subsidy to the companies that export, right? That's money taken from your savings account It's gone through, it's just sloshed around on an island, 3,000 miles away for a while, spent on whatever they spend it on, and then given